I'm Michael Beebe. I'm the CEO of Dstillery. I'm here today to interview Abe Desir, a rising junior at Case Western Reserve University, who spent the first quarter of 2021 as a product management intern at Dstillery. Welcome, Abe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you describe for me the project that you worked on during your internship at Dstillery?
Yeah, I'd love to. While I was at Distillery, I worked on a post-cookie competitive landscaping project. And, with the push for more internet user privacy and the sunset of third-party cookies, we thought it'd be a smart idea to take a step back and kind of capture the essence of that next generation of ad campaigns and targeting approaches.
And tell me more about the project. How did you conduct the project? How did you plan it?
Yeah,
And what was the output or conclusion of that project?
yeah. So I started off at Distillery not knowing anything about third-party cookies at all. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't familiar with ad tech at all. So the first step was kind of learning what it was, what's happening now, and the origins and like why third-party cookies were so useful, and what kinds of different political movements and social movements have taken place to kind of shift the focus. So that was the stage zero, really, just kind of get a background of what's happening. And the second step was kind of laying out what I was going to do. And I knew that this was going to be a research heavy project. So I needed to go about it in an organized way. So I thought maybe going about the research with go to market strategies in mind, customers in mind, product features in mind, and like keeping all those things in my mind as I'm thinking about what the company is trying to say and what the company means now for the world in this changing time. It was laying out. It was because I couldn't go into the research just, it's so much to research. There's so many companies, and even by the end, when you guys saw the presentation, I'd left out a lot of information. So, you know, the first step was the research, and then the second step was compiling all those notes and then cutting them down to the most important insights and presenting it to Distillery and you guys, really.
Well, you did an amazing job learning in a short amount of time a lot about a lot of complex subjects, as you said, starting with the privacy concerns around third-party cookies and other targeting methods, and then expanding beyond that to understand all the different companies and the service offerings that they have in that very dynamic targeting landscape. I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for doing such an amazing job and bringing to the executive team a presentation which really distilled down into its essence kind of what some of the interesting competitive solutions that we're facing off against are. So I think you did an amazing job.
And I want to thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity to just actually like have a 4-month project. You don't get that in school. You know what I mean? You don't really, I haven't gotten that in my experience. So it was cool to be able to spend every day doing something and watching it unfold.
Great. Well, so you worked with our product management team. Product is obviously an important part of what every company does, but it's sometimes kind of an obscure function to people outside of the company. What's your perspective on product management, and what did you learn about that department or function within a company?
Yeah. So what you're saying is really true. When I came in, I wasn't exactly sure what product management was. I didn't know how that differed from product marketing. I just didn't know. And I feel like you're right. People don't know. And for me, I saw product management as a wide-reaching piece of the company. Like my managers, TJ and Mark, expressed to me how much enabling research goes into the position. And often we spoke about the development of product, extensive planning and forecasting, along with 360 competitive awareness of what's happening in the world around you. These are all things you have to think about as a product manager. And they spoke about the meeting points of marketing and product. So all in all, I really took that product definitely keeps busy and interacts with many adjacent parts of the company. And I don't know if I'm biased, but at the end of the internship, I felt like it's definitely one of the most important parts of a company.
I agree. Product is kind of the intersection of strategic thinking, competitive thinking, go-to-market or sales strategy, and finance, right? The business model that you use to make money all begins and ends with kind of your product. So product is definitely kind of a very central function that is not particularly well understood. So what were the big learnings that you had during
Yeah.
your internship with Dstillery?
So I learned a lot about the development movement that called for more privacy and more stringent data collecting regulations. I learned a lot about third-party cookies, and I found that to be the most fun because you see the words cookie, accept or declined on websites, and you never put an ounce of cognitive energy into it. Sometimes you press accept, sometimes you press decline, you don't really care. So it was cool to learn about that, and it's sunset. And after reflecting on the whole project and the research and the presenting, I thought about how the new machine learning and AI approaches that are rolling out in response to the internet user privacy movements, like those are the biggest findings I found from all these next gen targeting approaches. Machine learning and AI is what's going to drive the next step here. And it's got to be creative because everybody's doing it, but the actual process of creating reliable AI, that's going to come from creative engineering staff and teams.
Thanks. That's awesome. Um, can I ask you, is there anything you learned about yourself in the process of the internship?
Yeah, I learned a lot about myself. The first thing was that I learned that I'm a pretty aggressive researcher. Like feels pretty dissatisfied not finding the info I want. Coming up in this internet age, I've always thought that the internet had all my answers. Even as a kid, if mom and dad didn't have it, Google's got it. You know what I mean? So I got to see how deeper research could also fuel interest in a topic that I knew very little about before interning at Dstillery. So it was really awesome to be able to learn that not only about myself, but just learn just abstractly. Like if you learn, you have to give something your full mind to be able to gauge if you like it or not. You can't just see one side of it. If somebody asked me if I cared about targeting approaches and ads before Distillery, I would have been like, I don't know even what to say about that. I never even thought about it. I don't really care. But after spending 4 months on it, now I'm always looking at all these different ad campaigns, all these TV things, whenever on Hulu, even the new OTT movement of ads that are coming out, I'm looking at like, why are these ads coming to me? Like, I'm not even like, this doesn't even fit me. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm always looking at that. And it annoys people a lot because like I'm always judging every commercial now just because how I think about ad tech and ads in general.
Yeah, once you have a peek behind the curtain, you really start, it changes your experience as a consumer, and you really start thinking about why you're being shown an advertisement or being asked a question, should I accept cookies or not? Once you've seen how it works, it makes you insanely curious about
Yeah, for sure.
it. So I know you still have a couple of years of school to go after this year, but has your internship with Distillery influenced your career plans in any way?
I can confidently say that my time at Distillery has led to deeper career-oriented thinking. I got to meet with many members of the Distillery community, from sales to platform ops, engineering, you name it, HR. So it was amazing, and I can say that along with this exposure, I got increased interest not only in management but in other paths like business development or even HR. So I could happily say that this summer I'll be interning at an investment firm working with the HR team based in Chicago, and I have Distillery to thank for just helping me this early in my professional advancement journey. Like just the skills that I got from here, I know I'll be able to keep going, and the constant just working and perseverance that Distillery taught me, like just really going hard and trying to find out everything I can with the resources I had. Like that intangible is gonna carry me throughout my professional advancement.
So an internship during a pandemic is a new experience for everyone. You were kind of our guinea pig, Abe. Tell me about the experience of having a 100% remote internship.
From a college student standpoint, I'm gonna have to be very real about this. It's easier than in person. In person, uh, it would just be I would have to in person would likely one be in the summer, and secondly, when you have an internship that's remote, you can kind of just put it in your mind as a second class or like another tier of classes because the work you're doing is still learning, it's still project based, you know what I mean? And there's going to be times when you're meeting with people and you're going to feel like it's a test because you got to know what you're talking about. So the remote aspect of this internship essentially allowed me to integrate it better into my college schedule, and I was able to always be connected. There wasn't any kind of, I was staying in my room, and after classes it was straight meeting with TJ and Mark, my managers, and then after that it was working on Coda, which you know what I worked on to compile my notes, and yeah, it was very easy and probably a better experience than a lot of in-person internships, to be frank.
Did you feel, Abe, like you got enough contact and interaction with the product management team leaders, TJ and Mark, and with other parts of Distillery?
To be honest, I felt like I got more contact with Distillery remotely than I would in person because, you know what I mean? Naturally, being somebody that's like, I'm naturally an introverted person, and that's how I was as a kid growing up. And now I'm still in the stage of growing out of that. The remote experience, the remote social experience it felt like less pressure, and it felt so easy to just be able to be calm and chill with people. And that led to me like being comfortable, but also remotely I was able to schedule a meeting directly after classes with my managers, and we were able to meet at 5:30 every day of the week, and it was amazing. There were some meetings that maybe we didn't even have to meet, but we just met to talk and chat because in this remote age you're not talking to too many people. So TJ and Mark became my friends too, and almost like, I don't want to say older brothers, but like a tier above that if there is one, you know.
That's
So
great.
like it was awesome to have we learned a lot about each other beyond just a landscaping project. It was I learned about their paths, how they were in my shoes.
So, do you have any advice for our future interns?
Yeah, I do have some advice for future interns. I'd say for specifically distillery future interns, I can't say this for every company, but just know that the people working here are actual humans. They're cool. They know what's going on. They're in contact with every other part of the world in the sense that they know what's going on. They're not just focused on distillery. They're really well-rounded people, and you should know that before coming so that you have comfort, and you'll know that, and it'll lead to better communication with them, and you'll just take more out of an experience when you know there are people here that are like you, and they're very cognitive, and they're thinking about all kinds of different movements. It's inspiring to be around and to see because you could almost see yourself in some of these people at distillery or future older versions of yourself. So I think that it's an awesome culture fit, and just be comfortable, lean into it. If you feel discomfort at first with the remote experience because you're not used to it, lean into that discomfort and find out how you can best accommodate yourself. So if you feel like you don't have a professional work environment, use a virtual background. Like, no one really cares. We're all just here to get work done. So
That's great. Like I said, I think you might skip over straight from intern to board member. That's very sage wisdom from someone of your young age. So I really do appreciate it.